Hi everyone, and welcome back. So, as you all know, the big thing we're doing this week is the annotated bibliography. Your rough draft for that major assignment is due at the end of the week, this upcoming Sunday, and in that assignment you're going to need at least 8 sources of different types, and you're going to need to format them with correct citations and then have annotations for 4 of them at this stage. And of course, for your final paper, they'll all need to be annotated. So, as I gave you in the readings for last week, the link to this Purdue Online Writing Lab, which, as I explained, is really the best online resource for anything having to do with citation. So you can see this is the example for MLA style, and this is how MLA format, how you would cite a book in MLA. So you can see how the author name is captured, then the title of the book, which is in italics, how it captures the publisher's name, all the punctuation you're going to need. So this is kind of your reference that you should be using as you're creating that annotated bibliography. You want to double check here because it has all different types of sources and how you use them. So it has periodicals, it has electronic sources, and other types of sources that might come up. So obviously one way you can kind of create these citations just to manually type them up, have the books and the articles near you, and kind of get all the information out there. But in this video, I also want to demonstrate ways that you can automatically generate these citations using library databases. So let me just jump into Galileo here, and let's say I'm going to use some scholarly articles in my research paper, and let's say that I was searching in Academic Search Complete, so we'll just jump right into that database, and I'm going to demonstrate how from the results screen directly I can actually take the articles that I need to use and I need to generate a citation and actually show you there's a button you can just click to do that automatically. So let's just do a really simple search. Let's say I'm searching for social media, and that's my topic. So let's say I'm doing some research, and let's say maybe this one turns out to be a really good source. I've looked over the abstract, I've downloaded the PDF. This is something I want to put in my annotated bibliography. So instead of having to actually just take the author name and the title and the name of the journal and just type it up manually, I can actually look over here on the Tools menu on the side, and you'll see the Cite button. So if you click that link, you can see it's actually going to pull up the fully formatted citation already done. So if I was doing APA style, that would be right here. I could just copy and paste this and put it in, and MLA style is also included. So I could just copy and paste, and I could save some time. I wouldn't have to type that manually. So the one thing I do want to caution you, let you know that, of course, this is just an automatically generated citation, so it requires the information in the database to be correct. And I'm going to come right out and say that this isn't 100% foolproof. Sometimes there are mistakes. Things I see the most frequently are sometimes there's an error and something is in all caps, or sometimes it messes up the author's name, or sometimes it just adds some additional field that shouldn't be used. So I do encourage you to use these automatically generated citations, but you always want to double check and take a look at it carefully and compare it to the style format that you find here in the Purdue OWL or another resource that you might be using for citations. If you have an MLA print version that you're consulting, you always want to double check because you're of course responsible for the work you do. So you can rely on these kind of automatically generated citations, but you always want to double check. So that's one way that you can do this in Academic Search Complete, and all the other EBSCO databases are going to behave the same way. They'll have this little Cite button. I'm also just going to demonstrate a couple other places. So let's go back into Galileo and I'll show you a different database. So let's say I was using ProQuest Research Library, which, as I mentioned, is another good interdisciplinary database that kind of has a little bit of everything. So let's say I was doing that same just social media search, and of course if I was doing a real research paper, I'd probably want to add some synonyms or use a slightly more advanced search than just this one, but this is just an example to demonstrate citations, so we'll do that for now. So let's say that this first one turns out to be another great source. I want to cite this and add it to my annotated bibliography. You can see it's not down on the right side like it is with the other database, but I should kind of just think it's got to be here somewhere. So if I look around a little bit, I'll notice that here there's actually just a top horizontal bar and the Cite button is right there. So here I'm going to click Citation. It's going to load it, and you can see this functions a little bit differently than the EBSCO database, but it does basically the same thing. Here I use this drop-down menu to change the format. So if I need to use MLA, I could pick that. If I needed to do APA, I could switch it there, and again I could just copy and paste this into my document. So those are examples of two different databases that the interfaces are slightly different, but you're basically doing the same thing. Finally, I just want to demonstrate how you can do this in the library catalog. So if I'm searching for book sources for my social media topic, using the West Georgia Library Catalog. Let's say this first one is something I want to use. You can do the very same thing that you did in the databases in here. So you can see Cite This is a link here up at the top. So if you're using an unfamiliar search system, usually the places to look are kind of on the side or up here at the top. It's usually going to be in one of those two places. So here I can see there's Cite This. And you can see this one only has APA and MLA. So if I needed to use something else, it wouldn't I wouldn't be able to do that automatically for this search system. And you can see this gives you basically the same warning I did. So the computer-generated citations might not be perfect 100% of the time. So I definitely want to emphasize that you shouldn't just blindly copy and paste these in and never double check. You always need to make sure that they're the correct style. So kind of cross-reference it with the style guide. And it should be able to save you some time. So, of course, you aren't going to be able to do this for all of your sources. For example, if you're using a website, maybe an organizational website or an online article from the New York Times or some other newspaper, you're not going to just be able to automatically generate a citation there. Just every website isn't going to give you that option. So what you're going to need to do is actually pull out that information manually as you type your citation. And what you're going to want to reference is this page for the electronic sources here in MLA, and then of course APA has its own one in its guide. So this will tell you different ways to cite an entire website, if you're possibly using a departmental website or just an individual page or an image that you found on a website. This will tell you all sorts of different types of sources that you might need to use. And MLA kind of famously a couple years ago, they released guidelines for citing tweets. So this is kind of, as emerging forms of media come out, you need to basically find a way to quote them. So this is kind of an example of how the media landscape is changing a little bit, and we now have these new forms of media, and the style guides are trying to kind of stay current and update. So you'll often see sort of new styles pop up here. So inevitably, though, you'll sometimes run across something that doesn't seem to quite fit into what's here on these pages. So if you have any concerns or you're not sure how to cite any of your sources, feel free to send me an email and I'll be glad to help. So that's all I wanted to demonstrate today. So good luck with your annotated bibliographies, and of course get in touch if you have any questions or concerns about that or any of our other assignments. So until next time, I will see you later. Take care. Bye.